Christmas DIYs are in full swing, and I have some brand new ones to share with you. I'm Rebecca Virginia. Let's jump into the DIYs. You might notice a theme from the thumbnail for this video, but we are going to be making a lot of faux holiday treats in this video. Gingerbread cookies, ice cream, hot cocoa. This video is full of them, and we're going to kick off the DIYs with these fun faux ice cream ornaments that will look perfect and delicious on your tree. I'm going to be using spackle in quite a few of my DIYs for this video, so I went ahead and picked up 2 of these containers from the Dollar Tree. You can find it in the hardware section. So I already made the smaller ice cream scoops, which I just showed you, but now we're going to be making some larger ice cream scoops. I got these scoops off Amazon. They came with 3, a larger one for ice cream, smaller one for cookies, and then a medium one. I used the medium and now the large one for the ice cream. The spackling looks perfectly like ice cream. It's actually kind of crazy how much it really does look like ice cream, not faux food. So once I scooped those out, I did leave it for a little over 24 hours to dry. But before they dried, I did sprinkle them with a little bit of cinnamon. And as I showed earlier, for the smaller scoops, I did add some red and green beads. That was the fake sprinkles, and I did put in a small cinnamon stick into one of our smaller ice creams. Now we are going to make the cones. I got this set of 6. They called them Christmas trees at Hobby Lobby for $3.99 for 6, but it was 40% off. And I'm going to be using 3 of them, and these are going to be our ice cream cones, not our Christmas trees. So I am painting them with the color Khaki by Folk Art, and I went ahead and just gave them a good coat on all 3 and then set them aside to dry. I placed a bamboo skewer in the bottom of them so that it would be easier to paint, but especially for this next part. So I'm going to be creating a waffle cone effect using some hot glue, and it's actually pretty easy. The only difficult part is keeping a steady hand to make sure that your lines stay straight, but you're just going to do diagonal lines all the way down your cone one way, and then flip it, as you can see me doing right here, and then go in the other direction, and you will soon start to see that waffle cone texture take shape. The bamboo skewer came in really handy here because I didn't have to fully turn the cone. I was just able to twirl the skewer, and then that perfectly rotated my styrofoam cone for me. Once the hot glue had dried, I went over it again with the khaki colored paint. Make some faux cherries to top off the ice cream. I took wood beads and painted them red and added some red sequins. The cherries are also going to be vital in turning this ice cream into an ornament. I took some of this red and white striped thread and threaded it right through the wood bead and knotted it, leaving a loop at the top. That, of course, is going to be the area that we can hang on our tree. Next, it is time to start assembling our ice cream cones. I'm going to do 1 cone with a triple scoop, and the other 2 are going to be double scoop. I'm just taking our spackle scoops now that they have dried and hot gluing them to the cone and then on top of one another, and of course putting the cherry on top. The double scoop is going to start the same way that we did with our singles by taking that larger spackle scoop and hot gluing it down onto the base of the cone. Then for the 2 smaller scoops, I just kind of hot glued them at angles, kind of looking like a Mickey Mouse head. Let me know in the comments down below if you have any fun faux food items on your Christmas tree, maybe besides a gingerbread man. I feel like a lot of people probably have that on their tree, but I also know some do the pickle ornament or some other crazier kind of food, so let me know in the comments down below what you have on your tree. Next up, we are making some faux peppermints, and not only do I have some smaller peppermints to show you, but I'm also going to teach you how you can take one of the foam pumpkins that are currently for sale at the Dollar Tree. That's right, pick up a pumpkin for Christmas decor. This is going to be a great larger peppermint that'll be great if you're a fan of larger decor in the home, or this is kind of already weatherproof since it's covered in cellophane. This would also make some really great outdoor Christmas decorations. But first up, we're going to start with the smaller item. I picked up a pack of these small styrofoam circles. I did make this peppermint stencil, but you could always freehand it, but I really wanted the peppermint swirls to be precise on these smaller ones. The larger pumpkin peppermint I did freehand, so if you want to see how to do that, just stay tuned and I'll show you in a bit. Whenever I use a stencil on my wood pieces or canvases, I always put down a little bit of Mod Podge first. It just really ensures that the paint doesn't run. So I also did that here on the styrofoam circle. I'm not sure if it actually did anything, but when I did remove the stencil, the lines were very crisp. So I'm not sure if it was just the texture of the styrofoam or because I laid down that Mod Podge. Then I took the color Crimson by Waverly to fill in those peppermint stripes and added a little bit of this red glitter glue from the Dollar Tree. I figured the more glitter, the better during the Christmas season, so I laid that down on top and left it to dry before peeling the stencil off. I purchased a roll of Dollar Tree clear wrap, and I am using this to create the candy wrapper for my peppermint. I laid down the candy so that the back was facing me and just taped 3 little areas, the center and then the 2 sides, to secure that in place. Then I flipped it back over so that the front of the peppermint was facing me, and using some clear elastic hair ties, I just tied the 2 ends so that you get that classic candy wrapper look. Moving on to the larger faux peppermint, I am taking one of the styrofoam pumpkins that the Dollar Tree currently has out right now, so make sure that you pick this up if you're wanting to make some faux peppermints. And I painted this entire pumpkin white. My Dollar Tree only had the black and orange pumpkins, but if you have the white ones, that will even cut down on your time more. So for this one, I am freehanding it. I again took my red paint by Waverly, and I'm kind of just following the direction that I made on the smaller peppermints and creating these red candy swirls. Just like the other peppermints, I am laying down some glitter, but instead of using glitter glue, I decided to go with some of these loose sequins, of course also from the Dollar Tree. So I put down a little bit of Mod Podge to act as the adhesive and sprinkled on that glitter. Then again, doing the same thing as the smaller pumpkins, flipping it so the back of the peppermint faces me, and adding a little bit of tape before flipping the peppermint back over and creating those candy wrapper ends using some clear elastics. It is a little bit harder on the larger pumpkin just because that clear wrap is of course going to be longer, but don't worry, at the end I do take my scissors and trim it down a little so we don't have these super long ends. Let me know in the comments down below which peppermints you are most likely to recreate, the smaller ones that you can pop into your Christmas tree, or maybe the larger ones you can use for some outdoor decor. The next DIY is actually a suggestion from one of my amazing subscribers. I read every single comment on my videos, and all of you have some great ideas and suggestions that I love reading. They are very inspiring to me, so thank you to my great subscriber who suggested that I make some snowmen out of clay. I took it a little step further to make it into the faux food category, so we are going to jump into making some clay marshmallows. These are really easy to make. I just rolled it into a ball, and then from the ball formation, just used my fingers to shape out the edges of the ball and make it more into that square marshmallow shape. I let the snowman marshmallows dry for 48 hours before continuing on to painting their faces. I used black paint for the coal eyes and the smile, and then I went in with some orange paint for our carrot nose, and then let these dry overnight. The clay was almost completely dry after 48 hours, but I did give it another 24 hours to really just make sure that everything was dry before I started styling our snowman marshmallows. The first way to style these is in a mug with some hot cocoa. To not use up all of my hot cocoa packets, these were actually expired from about 2 or 3 years ago, I think, but they were expired. So instead of throwing them out, I decided to use them in this DIY, but just to not use quite as much because I might want to use it for other staging purposes, I did put down a part of an empty paper towel roll, and then I made a little lid for it out of cardstock so that I could cover the top up with the hot cocoa powder. This was just a way so I didn't have to use quite as many hot cocoa packets, and then I styled the marshmallows on top just like you would with a cup of real hot cocoa. A second way to style these snowman marshmallows is using this glass gumball machine that I got from the dollar spot section of Target, and I filled up the bottom and about the middle section with some of this filling that I got from Joann Fabrics. I thought it made a really great faux snow, and then I just layered all of our marshmallow snowmen down in there before placing the lid back on. As a further embellishment, I'm taking some of this frayed ribbon in a neutral color and tying it around the gumball machine. And I also grabbed a wood snowflake from the Dollar Tree. They're actually stickers that come on a pack with some other cute winter decor like Christmas trees and some gold stars. The last way that I'm going to show you how to style these snowman marshmallows is as a Christmas ornament. So I grabbed this sled ornament from the Dollar Tree. I don't remember seeing them last year, so they might be new, or maybe my Dollar Tree just didn't get them in. And I placed all of the snowman marshmallows inside the sled. Of course, use some hot glue or some other type of adhesive if you're going to hang it on your tree. Let me know in the comments down below which of the three is your favorite way to style the snowman marshmallows. Moving into some more traditional Christmas faux food, we're going to begin decorating some gingerbread men and women, starting off with making our very own gingerbread man using one of the wood cutouts from the Dollar Tree. I know that they had these last year, but I could not get my hands on them, so if you see them at your Dollar Tree, make sure to pick them up because they're at least hard for me to find. So I'm going to start off by painting him, and I started off with a lighter color brown. It was the same khaki color that I used on the ice cream cones, but I didn't really like this. I didn't think it looked very gingerbread man-like, so I added in a little bit of a darker brown. I added the burnt umber color from Apple Barrel. For the accents on our gingerbread man, I'm taking the color Crimson by Waverly and adding that to his face, his peppermint bow tie, and his buttons. I also added in some details around his face and also some of that glitter glue that I used earlier on the peppermints onto his buttons so they had a little bit of a shine to it. We're going to make some faux icing using spackle from the Dollar Tree, again found in the hardware section. And to put this in the piping bag, I added probably about 3 tablespoons of water just to make the spackling a little bit more runny so it wasn't quite so thick. And then I cut a small hole into my plastic bag and was able to pipe this faux frosting all around my gingerbread man. I let the spackle or faux frosting dry for 24 hours before I went back in with a smaller brush and that same crimson color to accent his sleeves and down by his feet. And then I used the piping bag again to add some little drops to kind of mimic gumdrops. And I did put the bag with the wet spackling in a Ziploc bag, and that kept overnight. It didn't harden or anything. So I'm not sure if you kept it longer, it might harden, but at least for 24 hours, I was able to keep it intact so that I could reuse it when I went back in for those gumdrop buttons. Now that we have our gingerbread man, it's only right that we make our gingerbread woman. So using one of the galvanized caps from the Dollar Tree, I made this gingerbread girl that you could either use as hanging decor or make it as an ornament that you can place in your tree. Using the same color combo of the Umber by Apple Barrel as well as that lighter khaki color, I coated the entire intersection of our galvanized bottle cap. Before going in with black paint, I used a Sharpie so that it was easier to draw out the eyes and the smile on my gingerbread girl. And then off camera, I did go back in with a smaller detailing brush and some black paint to go over that face. Exactly like I did previously with our gingerbread man, I'm using the spackling in a piping bag. My camera did die, but I did the exact same technique that I did with the gingerbread man. But while the spackling was still a little bit wet, I did sprinkle some faux snow from Dollar Tree on it to kind of give it that sugary looking effect. Then I went in with some pink paint to make the cheeks on our gingerbread girl and her nose before taking one of my white markers from the Dollar Tree and going in to add some details around her eyes. I took this larger red gingham pattern ribbon from the Dollar Tree and cut off the wire that was on the edges before cutting down the center so I had a thinner, smaller ribbon to work with. I also pulled at the edges so that they were a little bit more frayed and kind of had more of like a Raggedy Ann vibe before making a bow and placing that onto my gingerbread girl's head. I decided that I'm going to use this as an ornament on my tree, so I added back on the jute hanger that it came with, and then added the hot glue to adhere the bow to the top of our gingerbread girl's head. I have also seen some other people on Pinterest turn this into a snowman face, which I also think is really cute. This is a Snowman Muffin Tin, and I am planning to leave this up all winter long. I hate taking down the Christmas decorations, but it's always fun when you get to put up some cute snowmen. I started off this DIY by grabbing one of the muffin tins from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to be using paint, cinnamon, and Mod Podge on this. So first, I grabbed some sandpaper and just roughed up the surface a little bit. Now I'm moving on to creating a faux rusting effect. Now you could just take a muffin tin that you have around your house if it is rusty, but I didn't have one, so we're gonna create the effect of rust because I don't have the months and time it would take for this to actually rust on its own. So to create this, I took cinnamon, Mod Podge, and a bit of brown paint. I don't know if you could tell, but I accidentally spilled the entire thing almost of cinnamon. Luckily, this was cinnamon from the Dollar Tree and it was a pretty big container, but I did not mean to spill that much. You don't need that much cinnamon. That was definitely on accident. And what you're gonna do, I found that taking a paintbrush and using a stippling method creates the best faux rusty effect. And what I'm doing to create the effect is I'm dipping my paintbrush in the paint Mod Podge mixture, and then I am dipping it in the dry cinnamon and then just going ahead and stippling it all over the muffin tin, really concentrating in the edges because I think that's where rust would naturally start to grow, on the edges of the muffin tin. And then for aesthetic purposes, I'm going a little bit inside the muffin tin. We'll be painting the bottom section to look like a snowman, but around the edges, I wanted that to have some definition, so I added a bit of that faux rust to that area as well. Next, it's time for what I think is the most fun part of this DIY, and that's beginning to create our snowmen. So I took one of these small sponge brushes from the Dollar Tree and some white paint, and I'm just swirling it on the inside of this muffin tin. And I'm not being precise, I'm being kind of messy because I want this to look very homemade and rustic looking, so I don't want clean edges. I just kind of swirled the paint around. You can kind of see a little bit on the video, but I did go in with just my index finger and a little bit of pink paint, and I went and made one small little dot to kind of be blush on the snowman's cheeks, but it's very, very faint. You can't see it too much. Then I went back in with my detailing tool. It's a dotter tool. You can pick them up at the Dollar Tree. They sell them now. And I went in with black paint, and then in just a moment I'll be going in with orange paint. And I'm just using this to create the dot eyes for my snowman and their smiling faces. And then I added a couple of different embellishments to the top of this muffin tin, but first I took a bunch of these garland picks from the Dollar Tree and kind of created what I called a crown. I ended up using 4 different garland picks to create this arrangement that I hot glued at the top of the muffin tin. And I'm going to be having this up probably all January and February in the winter months. So I wanted to add in some of these snow-covered branches to bring in some of that icy, snowy winterness from outside. And then I added 2 bells that have snowflakes on them to the lower center portion. And I also took 2 cinnamon sticks. I got these in a pack at the grocery store, and I just hot glued those on opposite ends of our topper. And as the final touch, I made a bow out of raffia, and I kept the ends pretty long because I do want it to hang down, so I just hot glued that at a slight angle in the center. If you're planning on just propping this DIY up on your kitchen counter, then you would be done. But I think I'm going to hang this off of one of my kitchen cupboard knobs. So to do that, I took some of this gold wire that I had and I just made it a double so it was a little bit stronger, and made a loop and then hot glued it to the back of the muffin tray. And then once that dried, it was perfect and could hang really easily off of my kitchen cupboards. For our next kitchen DIY, we have this adorable hanging gingerbread man. Alright, so for this next DIY, we're going to be using the foam gingerbread men from the Dollar Tree. And I took the foam and traced it out onto some cardboard. You could use maybe a box that you got in the mail, just peel off one of the sides of it and you can use that. So I cut that out so it was in the gingerbread shape, and then I just took my glue stick, and really the foam gingerbread was more so as a stencil, but I am going to put this on the back of my sign. But if you're going to be hanging it, you don't really need to have anything on the back of the sign because you won't be able to see it. Because what's actually going to be the front is this really pretty 12 Days of Christmas scrapbooking paper I got at Hobby Lobby that has the red music notes on it, and I went ahead and took the glue stick and glued that down too. Then I really want to hang this in my kitchen off one of my cabinets, so I grabbed my red and white baker's twine that I have from the Dollar Tree. And I kind of made a mistake because I should have put it down before I put the foam gingerbread guy on there. But it was okay. It was only using the glue stick, so it was easy to peel that back and then stick the baker's twine down on there so that I can have something for it to hang off of. Next, I'm going in with some of this white yarn that I have. And I thought it was great not only because it kind of made it look like icing going all the way around our gingerbread man, but also because it was a really great way to cover up and hide any of the cardboard that might have been peeking through on the sides, or if I didn't cut absolutely perfectly, it was a really great way to just disguise any of the cardboard that might have been peeking through. Because this is a kitchen DIY video, I not only wanted to have a gingerbread man sign, but I really wanted it to look like a gingerbread cookie. So to add some faux sugar onto my gingerbread man, I took some of this fake snow, and I just took the glue stick that I had been using earlier and placed it down on the front of our gingerbread man, and then I sprinkled the glitter on top and kind of pressed it a little just to make sure that it would stay in place. And then I waited about 30 minutes just to make sure that all of the glue was dry, and then I just shook off the gingerbread man in case any of the excess glitter came off. For a couple of embellishments on our gingerbread man, I took this little floral pick with berries and I added a little bit of white paint so it looked like it had been out in the snow. And then I took 2 of these jingle bells and I gave them a little bit more of a rustic touch by adding some brown paint. Then I went in and added the floral pick, kind of like where his bow tie would be, and then I added the 2 jingle bells down at the center of him. Buttons would also work as a substitute for the jingle bells, or I know that they make some of those buttons that look like food shapes, so if you had those, that would be really cute to add to this adorable kitchen DIY too. This last DIY is a super easy one, but I had to include it because what is a baking themed DIY video if I am not decorating one of my mini rolling pins? Like I said, this one's super easy. I took one of the mini wood rolling pins that I got in a pack at Hobby Lobby, and I just painted the center rolling area white and then the handles in a dark brown. And then I have this really cute snowman scrapbooking paper that I also got at, I believe, Hobby Lobby. And I just cut this to size and I'm wrapping it around the rolling pin. I love doing these rolling pins for all different seasons, so I tend to just tape them together rather than hot glue or Mod Podge, because then for the next season I will unwrap this and rewrap it to go with that season. So it's a good way to make an interchangeable DIY that you can use over and over again. And for the bow on this one, I picked this checkered red and white ribbon. I thought it looked very kitchen-esque and also kind of fit with the holidays. And then maybe if I leave this up throughout the winter, I will change it to a white sparkly bow to kind of go more with the snowy winter theme. Thanks for watching. Keep searching, keep creating.